Hey guys, what's up? Happy Halloween. I have I've done a lot today. Like I had class and then I went to the record store downtown. I walked around downtown and I looked at the people wearing their costumes and the kids were trick-or-treating, and then I went down to the beach and I watched the volleyball players, and then I came home, ordered a pizza, baked cookies, picked Liam up from school, we ate dinner, and then he went trick-or-treating, and yeah, it's been like a lot today, so I'm glad that I'm able to just sit here for a minute and relax. I wanted to take the time out of my day to talk about Britney's new book. I just finished it like 2 nights ago, and it was a really good read. It was really sad. I cried at the end. I'm not going to do a recap, but there will be spoilers, so if you haven't read the book, don't watch the video. I haven't watched really a lot of people's videos on it yet, since I didn't want to hear any spoilers. But I mean, some spoilers are hard to avoid, because the media has been covering this book heavily. So with Justin Timberlake and well, I don't know what I can and can't say on YouTube, but you get the picture. But yeah, so I just wanted to share my thoughts on it, and if you're interested, here we go. I lived in the Bible Belt for a couple years in my life, and so I knew the types of people that Britney came from. They didn't live in a trailer. I believe they lived in a house, but they were very, very poor, and they were what you call white trash. Her father was an alcoholic, and I'm not going to recap the whole book, but just, the beginning. Her father was an alcoholic. He would disappear for days. Britney said that when he disappeared, it would be the best times, because when he was home and he would drink himself to oblivion, then his mom would just start screaming, and then it would be like 4 in the morning, and Britney would be in her room, and she'd be like 8 years old and listening to that. So, really sad. A lot of abuse, a lot of generational abuse from her father's father, and sexual abuse from her father's father to, I guess, her aunt or something. So there's that, and it's really sad, and she doesn't excuse her father or make excuses for him, but she does say, he was put through a lot from his father, and so in result, her brother and her were really, really pushed and abused by their father. I don't know if I believe that she didn't know that K-Fed had kids, was with someone that was pregnant. I don't know if I believe that. I think that maybe she at first didn't know, but she had to have known within some days. Because I feel like when you get with somebody, that's the first thing you guys start talking about. And I don't even mean, start dating someone, but, if you sleep with someone, you kind of, open up to them, how they work together, her and K-Fed. So I'm pretty sure she knew. And I think the woman's name is Shar Jackson. I think she did an interview online, or she made a statement about how Britney was at the hospital. Don't quote me on that, but I believe she said Britney was at the hospital when her baby was born with K-Fed. So that's just crazy. I hope it's not true, but I did get that feeling when I was reading it that she had to have known, I think maybe she downplayed her partying a little bit, but that makes sense because she doesn't want people to point to her book and say, see, this is why she needed a conservatorship, because her partying was out of control. You know what I mean? And I mean, what 20-year-old's partying is not out of control? She just had more money and had more access to good drugs, So I don't know. I thought it was interesting that she didn't talk about her, well, that she talked about her brother in a very loving way, but she didn't talk about her cousin Allie. I think her name was Allie, that was her assistant. And I'm wondering if that's because it was really traumatizing for her because she hung around Allie right around before the conservatorship started. But I was interested to hear what she said about her. She mentioned Felicia, but I think she's upset with her because Felicia didn't come to her. She just went to Netflix and whatever to do the documentary. So I understand her being hurt for that, but I hope they rekindle things. But we don't know these people. We don't know what's going on but behind the scenes with them. You know, like Felicia could have said some really nasty things about Britney. We don't know. So maybe it's okay that they're not talking. But if they are on good terms, like, I mean, I hope that they do rekindle things if they're both nice to each other, I guess, you know. Another point, you know, her childhood was like the sad. Well, obviously the conservatorship was the saddest part, but her childhood was super sad, and I could relate to parts of it. Definitely coming from a child of an alcoholic, and like her father being very controlling and abusive. So I just there's only so much I could say on YouTube, but I'm not gonna go down a whole tangent about it. But yeah, I could definitely relate. So that was therapeutic for me in a way, and I just feel like Britney was put on this earth to help so many people, you know, because so many people are getting either the freedom that they need, or I don't know, just like the freedom of mind, the freedom of I'm not the only one that feels this way, you know. And maybe there's people that are in conservatorship abuse situations that are getting help now because of her story. And, you know, Brian Wilson, I think, was also in a similar situation. And I wonder if Britney Spears likes him. I'm pretty sure, like, she would like the Beach Boys, right? Because that's, you know, a very iconic band. But in the 80s, when I feel like most people think of the Beach Boys, it's either like in their surfer days, and not that they're surfers, but like their surf rock days in the 60s, or like the 80s. And the 80s was so bad, and that's not when Brian Wilson was in the band. In fact, that's when he was in the conservatorship. So I just hope that if she likes the Beach Boys, she knows the story behind it and Brian Wilson and everything. But yeah, but that was by his doctor, not by his father. The crazy thing is, like, this was her father, and it just goes to show you how cruel family can be. And just because you're related to somebody doesn't make them family, and that sucks. And like, we all have our shortcomings. Mine is my family. Some people are bad at just different things, and for me, it's just my family. So we all have our shortcomings. For Brittany, it's her family's too. In retrospect, like looking back, I just wish she would have, you know, like kind of cut her, it sounds cruel, but cut her whole family out of her life when she hit it big. And same thing with Aaron Carter, because I know his brother Nick Carter did that. Like when he joined the Backstreet Boys, he was young, but when he turned 18, he cut his family out. And then Aaron Carter was the one that had to provide for his family. And that's just so sad, and that's another sad family. And I thought that Britney would bring up Aaron for some reason, but she didn't. So I wonder, I mean, is there pictures of them together? I don't know. I just thought that they would be, I'm pretty sure they were on tour together at some point or something, because he had mentioned that. And I know that there was rumors of her and Nick Carter dating, but it was obviously her and Justin. But yeah, she did mention Backstreet Boys, and she mentioned obviously NSYNC. I just think that Justin Timberlake is such an awful, icky person. And ever since I went through this marriage and everything, this divorce, I really feel like I can spot men they just give me such red flags. And he is definitely one of them. K-Fed as well. I don't know which one's worse. I mean, I guess K-Fed probably isn't as bad because Justin Timberlake for real seems like a psychopath. And you kind of have to be like, you either have to be like a psychopath to be famous or like a sex symbol, and he's for surely not a sex symbol, but you know what I mean. And he just kind of gives me Patrick Bateman vibes, so I don't like him at all. Obviously, I don't like K-Fed either, and he was just an opportunist, and he used Britney, and um, you know, there was a point where she said she didn't even know that it was over. Like, she just went to see him in the studio, and he acted like he didn't know her or something, which is just so crazy. Like, imagine having two babies from someone and them like switching. And yeah, just I can't imagine what she went through. She talks about the VMAs a lot, and she talks about the notorious 2007 VMAs, which that is my favorite performance of her, by the way. But anyway, I just like that she doesn't like care. But anyway, she was going through literally postpartum depression, a divorce. Okay, her body was changing. Your hormones are going crazy after you have a baby. And she was going through a divorce, and the paparazzi was fucking crazy back then, like stalking her, because they didn't have social media. But well, they had MySpace or whatever, but it wasn't like it is now, where you could just like follow your fave celebrity and see their story on Instagram. Like, no, like, you had to buy magazines and tabloids to see them. And so that's what they did. They would make hella pictures, post that shit online. I just feel so bad for Britney, you know? Like, this book just really makes you feel bad for her. It makes you sad. There are some people online that I feel like don't like Britney, like maybe they're Justin Timberlake fans or maybe they're Shar Jackson fans, but it's just like, how could you be so cruel? Like, some people are like, oh, she got her karma because she used to be a bad person. Like, you know, that's fucked up. Like, that's not her karma. She lost her will. Like, she almost lost her will to live. She lost the freedom to control her body, to decide if she wanted to take birth control or not, you know, and it's just a mess. I, I, yeah, I was gonna take notes for this, and maybe this will be like my part one, and then I'll do like a part two where I have like more organized bullet notes. But this is just sort of like off the top of my head, like my first thoughts of the book. It really does sound like it's written by her. I think that what she had done was did voice memos and recorded herself and then wrote it, or maybe she wrote it out, but it sounds kind of like a transcript, if that makes sense. Like, it sounds like her talking, but I could see how she could have wrote it that way. And obviously, like, there was different probably versions, you know, that she had turned in, and then the editor was like, oh, we can't include this or whatever, like, what's that called? They don't want to be held liable. So maybe there was some parts that they had to cut out, I don't know. But there were some parts of her life where I wanted her to cover that she didn't, you know? And I feel like the book went really fast. I wish it was bigger, you know? I wish she could have told her story for 2 times as long, but I'm just happy to have heard this story from her own words. And people say, like, oh, that's not really Britney, you know, she's been cloned. Which, okay, I wanted her to talk about that American Doll, I think that's what, or Original Doll album, but they never talked about that. Or she never talked about that in the book, where there was like a whole album that Britney had made that the record label wouldn't let her release, and it was about her being cloned, and it's like really trippy, but yeah, she didn't talk about that. But anyway, there's a conspiracy theory online, like on TikTok and stuff. Well, I don't have a TikTok, so I don't know about if it's on TikTok, but I think that's where it originated from, where people are saying that Britney's been cloned, and like if you look at certain videos of her and she moves her face, like the eyes change color, but that's been debunked. So yeah, that's kind of silly. Britney is definitely alive, and that's definitely her. She's super traumatized. They put her on lithium for a really long time, and it messed her brain up. If you take lithium and you don't need it, then it really fucks with you. So that's you know, one of the reasons why she acts the way she does. And also, she just has major PTSD. I got this from Ross. This is one of my Britney Spears perfumes. I think this one's called Festive Fantasy. I have another Britney Spears one, which is like the white one, but I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called Intimate Fantasy. But I like this one the best. It smells so good. It's so vanilla-y, and I love Fantasy. I love the bottle. I want to collect them all. But I have heard that her perfume money does not go to her directly. So if that's the case, then I might not have. If that's the case, then I might not buy them anymore. So I have to look into that. But I remember wearing Curious, or maybe it was the knockoff. It was probably the knockoff of Curious, and I had like the knockoff of Paris Hilton's perfume in like the 5th grade. That stuff was so popular. And when I was in elementary school, like J-Lo had a perfume out, and probably Mariah Carey too, the Butterfly. I wore that when I was like in middle school, I think, and all the early 2000s had like the best smelling perfumes. I feel like perfume's maybe not as popular as it used to be. I don't know. Like Body Splash and all that, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've grown up. But no, because perfume's like a very womanly thing, though. But I guess like people buy really expensive bottles, like $200 perfumes and shit like that. Like, no thanks, I'll take my Britney Spears perfume, you know. So yeah, I keep this book up in my window. I heard that there was different versions. Like if you went to the Crossroads premiere, then it'll say Britney here. Some have the rose, some don't. Mine does. It's got this beautiful picture of Britney. And on the back as well. Oh, and it says Spears' album Blackout was added to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's library of archives in 2012. That's amazing. I didn't know that, and that's great because that is one of the best rock and roll albums, you know. I love her. Okay, I guess I'd go through the albums. Baby One More Time, of course, classic. Like, how could you not like it? Like, that's like the pinnacle of Britney, you know. Oops, I Did It Again wasn't for me. And maybe it's because I don't really like the shift of like the millennial, because I love the 90s and that's when Baby One More Time came out. But to the 2000, her next album, Britney, of course, iconic, love that. And then I think the next one was In the Zone, which was okay. Wasn't really into In the Zone, but Blackout was her best album. Like Blackout, every single song on there is amazing, and she even says in the book it's her favorite, and that she knows that it's a fan favorite. Everything that came out after Blackout, unfortunately, was when she was in her conservatorship, and so she didn't really have a lot of creative control over her songs, I think. And there are some good ones like here and there, like Criminal, so good. I can't think of all of them right now, and like I'll fuck up the titles, but there is a lot on Femme Fatale, and I like Mood Ring. Britney Jean was not really for me, but, and then of course Circus, like, and there's that song Womanizer, like those are cool, but it had nothing like on Blackout. Like Blackout, you could tell was made by two people that really put their heart into it. Like Danger was that was like, I haven't heard all of his music, but I feel like that's his best work. Like he went off on that album, and yeah, people don't really talk about it enough. Britney fans do, but people are like, oh, Britney, you know, and it's like, Britney's a badass. Like, Britney's rock and roll, you know. And there's this one, like, episode of Howard Stern where Courtney Love, like, during her CRACK phase, she was on Howard Stern, and she was like, you know, she was like really whacked out, and she was like, you know, Britney Spears was like R-worded by someone in her family when she was young, And then Howard Stern was like, whoa, 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 we don't know these people. I can't confirm that. I don't want to get sued. But, like, Courtney was probably right, you know. And I'm going to go back and look for that. And I wonder if anyone else has noticed that or thought about that. But, yeah. So, I guess I could break it up into sections. Like, I could talk about the first half of the book in the next video and then the last half in the next. I think I'm going to do that. But these were just my off the top thoughts. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day. Bye.